ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददान्ति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सगणललिता शिविशाखान्वितंश्च ये कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनि नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे वैराग्य विद्या निज भक्ति योगा शिक्षार्थमेक पुरुष पुराण श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य शरीरधारी कृपाम्बुदीर्घस्तमहं प्रपद्ये पंचतत्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपा स्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकम् जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय अद्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंदा जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय अद्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंदा जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय अद्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा हरि ओम तत्सत। हरे कृष्णा। So let me share the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. So we welcome all the devotees for today's class, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. So we are in chapter 1, Teachings of Rupa Goswami. From which para? Any idea?
Prabhuji, thus by the mercy of the spiritual master and Krishna.
Okay, one second.
After three pages, I think.
Yes, here.
Yes,
Right?
yes, yes.
Okay. Today is also the appearance day of Advaita Acharya, one of the Panchadhattvas, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita. Advaita Acharya is, combination of Mahavishnu and Sadashiva also. Okay. So we can glorify Advaita Acharya also today. So let us all get the mercy of Advaita Acharya so that we can follow in the footsteps of our Rupa Goswami. We are all Rupanugas. Okay. By the mercy of Advaita Acharya. It was Advaita Acharya who caused the advent of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to this material world. It is his intense call to appear on this earthly planet to save the fallen soul like us. Because people were deviating from the actual religious principles. So he was so compassionate. He requested Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to descend. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu only can give that magnanimous mercy, without whose mercy we cannot continue this devotional service. Krishna demanded surrender. Okay, Krishna demanded total surrender. Here, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not demand anything. He gave indiscriminately Krishna Prema, whether we are qualified or not qualified, patra apatra dheke. Without having any qualification, he has been distributing this love of Godhead. Okay. So this is the magnanimity of Lord Chaitanya. So this happened just because of the intense prayers and compassion of Advaita Acharya. So we are indebted to Advaita Acharya, okay, for his causeless mercy upon all of us, especially people in the age of Kali Yuga. Okay. So thus, by the mercy of the spiritual master and Krishna, one receives the seed of devotional service. So what he says, Brahmanda Brahmide Konak Bhagyavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade Paya Bhakti Lata Beej. Bhakti Lata Beej, the seed of devotional creeper. Okay. How? By the mercy of spiritual master and Krishna, Guru Krishna Prasade. Then one has to sow the seed in the field of his heart. Just as a gardener sows the seed of valuable tree. After sowing the seed, one has to water it by chanting and hearing the holy name of the Supreme Lord and by taking part in discussions about the science of devotional service in a society of pure devotees. So when we have the seed, any seed for that matter, when we sow in a fertile land, you have to pour water, light and water we have to give. Similarly, this seed of devotional service we have to sow in our heart. And how we can water it? By chanting and hearing the name of the Supreme Lord, and by taking part in discussion about the science of devotional service in the society of pure devotees. So not only that we have to keep chanting and hearing, but also take association of pure devotees. If this is done in the association of pure devotees, then it will fructify. The actual result will be attained. Otherwise, on our own, it is very difficult. We have books. We will think that we can read and understand and apply. No, it is next to impossible. That's why we have to approach a spiritual teacher. Even material education, we have to go to a school or college. We have libraries, we have books available. Why don't we do take or read at home? We don't do that. We need a guidance, because we tend to misinterpret ourselves according to our logical understanding, according to our imperfect senses. So we need a guide who is senior to us, who's much realized than us, who can impart the right knowledge. So we need society of devotees under whom, if we are guided properly, then we will be on the right path. So association, satsanga, is very, very important. And not only that, satsanga, at the same time we have to leave the association of worldly minded people. Sangatyago. Okay, Rupa Goswami says that. Sangatyago sadovritte. Okay, so we have to avoid the association of worldly minded people. What happens if we have the association of such people? We will tend to take their path, will be misguided. We will live a life of sense gratification. We will forget what is the aim or goal of our human life. So we need, not only when we get the seed of devotional service, we have to plant in such a place, heart. Okay, there we have to water it by chanting and hearing, and in the association of pure devotees, we have to do that. So when that plant of devotional service sprouts up from the seed of devotion, it begins to grow freely. Okay, so because it's a conducive atmosphere, the environment is very good, chanting and hearing is there, association of devotees is there, then we will also fence. Okay, so when it is fully grown, it surpasses the length and breadth of the this universe and enters the transcendental atmosphere of the spiritual world. Why? After when the association of devotees, we are protected, is a fence. When we are surrounded by devotees, we will not commit any sinful activities. Okay? And when the weeds sprouts, that also can be removed, because we are in the association of pure devotees, and this grows and grows and penetrates the material layers, and where it takes shelter in the spiritual world, where everything is bathed in the effulgence of the Brahma Jyoti. Plant penetrates even the Brahma Jyoti. So not only this material realm, the layers of the material world, then it it crosses, penetrates into the Brahma Jyoti, then the Kailasha, then it enters into the spiritual realm. Okay, the plant penetrates even the Brahma Jyoti and gradually enters planet known as Goloka Vrindavana. After even crossing, because Vaikuntha, we don't stop there in Vaikuntha also. Okay, we are even going above the Vaikuntha, Goloka. Why? Because we are following Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's abode is in the Goloka Vrindavana. Okay, so and he is always chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare
Hare Rama.
Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare.
So where we'll end up? We'll end up in Goloka Vrindavana, because that is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving. Golokera Premadhana Nama Sankirtana. So this is directly imported from the Goloka Vrindavan. Okay. So our goal is the Goloka Vrindavana. So even after crossing the material layers, then the Brahma Jyoti, Sadashiva Loka, then Vaikuntha Loka, then Ayodhya, then Mathura, Dwaraka, Mathura, then we will reach the Vrindavana planet, where we can have the relation, where we can enjoy with Krishna's friends, and all other inhabitants of Vrindavana. There the plant takes shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna. That is the ultimate goal of devotional service. So what is the ultimate goal of devotional service, especially for those who are following the path of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or the path of Shad Goswamis? The ultimate goal is to attain Krishna Loka and Krishna Prema. After attaining this position, the plant produces the fruit of love of Godhead. To taste this fruit, however, it is necessary for the devotee or transcendental gardener to water the plant daily by chanting and hearing. Unless one waters the plant by chanting and hearing, there is every chance that it will die up. So if you sow a seed, the sunlight is necessary, water is necessary. Okay. So if you don't do that, it will die up. Similarly, if you want to nourish our devotional service, we have to continuously chant and hear about the Supreme Lord. Okay. Otherwise, it will be just like the plant that will dry up. So this is a Satatam Kirtayanto Mam. Continuously, so chanting and hearing is not only just listening to the or chanting. Any devotional activity can be connected to chanting and hearing. Doing any devotional service can be connected to chanting and hearing. Okay. Not just verbally pronouncing the mantra or hearing that mantra is chanting and hearing. Any devotional activity for that matter can be categorized in chanting and hearing. Okay. So then we will attain that fruit of that plant, that is Krishna Prema. Krishna has everything. Okay. Krishna has everything except one thing. Krishna is a controller of everything, proprietor of everything, enjoyer of everything. But Krishna doesn't possess one thing. What is that Krishna lacks?
Devotion, Prabhuji.
Krishna Prema. Yes, that is only with the devotees. That is only with the devotees. Krishna does. That is the reason Krishna came in the guise of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the mood and complexion of Radharani to taste that. Krishna doesn't have that. It is only with devotees. Krishna Prema. The devotees only can give Prema to Krishna. That he lacks. But otherwise he has everything except this Krishna Prema. So to enjoy or to relish that, Krishna comes in the mood of Radharani. How a devotee, a pure devotee of Krishna enjoys that. He is lacking that. So Krishna is full, but he doesn't have this particular one, Krishna Prema. So Lord Chaitanya pointed to Rupa Goswami that there was another danger to be encountered while watering the root of the devotional plant. After a plant has grown somewhat, an animal may come and either eat it or destroy it. Yes, we know. That's why we have some garden or we have some vegetation, we fence it. Otherwise, animals will come and eat it up. So similarly, for us also there is a danger. Okay, our devotional creeper will be destroyed by others. Here this animal, but as far as the devotional creeper is concerned, it's not the animal. So what we have to do, when the green leaves of a plant are eaten by some animal, plant generally dies. Thus one has to take precautions so that the plant of devotional service is not disturbed by animals, which represents offenses. So what does the animal represent here? The offenses. Okay. The most dangerous animal is the mad elephant. For if a mad elephant enters a garden, it causes tremendous damage to plants and trees. We know if a mad elephant just goes out of his way, it will not look here and oh, this is a good plant, I will safeguard it, I will not destroy it. No, this make havoc. It will destroy everything. So that is what we have to be very careful. Okay. An offense to a pure devotee of the Lord is called Vaishnava Aparadha. So what is this Aparadha offense of mad elephant? Is Vaishnava Aparadha is compared to a mad elephant. So we have to be very careful. Now there are so many avataras. There is Vaishnava Aparadha, Seva Aparadha, Nama Aparadha, Dhama Aparadha, so many. But of all the aparadhas, Vaishnava Aparadha is the most dangerous one. So we have to be very. What happens when we commit aparadha? Now there are two things. One is aparadha, other one is papa. So what is the basic difference between papa and aparadha? Yes, we are on mute.
Papa Prabhuji can be rectified, but aparadha cannot be rectified. Means papas you can have punishment for the papas, but aparadhas you cannot
So
rectify.
in brief, for papa there is prayasita. You mean?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. For aparadha there is no prayasita. Okay. In a way it's correct. For papa we can atone. Okay. But aparadha we need to get the forgiveness of the person to whom we have done the aparadha. He has to forgive us. Suppose I've done aparadha to somebody, that person has to forgive me. Okay, that is one thing. And apart from that, what is okay? Meat eating is a papa or is a aparadha?
Papa.
Papa. Why it is not aparadha? Why it is not classified? Yes, it is papa only. It is sin. It is a gross activity. Aparadha is almost, it is subtle. See, by doing papa, the gross body suffers.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, yeah.
Prabhuji, Aparadha, once I heard that Aparadha, which is not like to Radha, is Aparadha.
Yeah, okay. That's, yeah. All these sinful activities, everything. But here, the aparadha is something, will take you away from
The
Krishna.
devotional service. Yeah.
Devotional service. It will take you away. Or papa will have the, what is the result of papa? We'll have to physically undergo sufferings. Physically or mentally maximum. But aparadha is such that no, you will be totally away from Krishna consciousness if you do aparadha. So that is the most dangerous thing. Physically, suppose if I beat somebody, if I get 2 beat, finish. There, close the chapter. That account is settled. If I beat somebody once and he give back to me 2 beatings, account is settled. But aparadha is not like that. Aparadha account to be settled, that person should forgive. Even Lord will not interfere in that. We know the case of Ambarish Maharaj, Durvasa Muni. Okay, Lord will not forgive. Lord cannot do that also. So this is the difference. So this is mostly gross. So papa is mostly gross. Other one is subtle. And papa will have to physically suffer. And aparadha, it's not physical suffer, but you are going away from Krishna consciousness. So aparadha is more dangerous. Papa can be counteracted by penances and prayashit and everything, but aparadha cannot be counteracted by any amount of prayashita unless and until that person forgives us. He should be compassionate. So this is the difference. Okay, so here the Vaishnava aparadha, that's considered to be like the mad elephant. It tramples and destroys everything. So whatever little devotional activities or devotional credits that we have, everything will be destroyed by committing Vaishnava Aparadha. So of all the Aparadhas, Vaishnava Aparadha is the most dangerous one. One has to be very careful not to offend anybody, any Vaishnavas. Not that you can do other aparadhas, but this is the most dangerous. You have to be very careful, because whatever little spiritual credits that we have, that will be destroyed. Then we'll think, why I'm not getting taste in chanting? Why? Because we are doing knowingly and unknowingly, we are doing a lot of aparadhas. The 10 offenses that we are reading or reciting before chanting, okay, these are all aparadhas to be avoided. So if you continue doing this, any one of these aparadhas or multiple aparadhas, our taste in chanting will decrease. That's why people are, since so many years I'm chanting, so many years, but I'm not getting the taste. Why? This is the reason. It's very subtle, but that is the actual reason, because we are not chanting without the offenses. Inattentive chanting, that's also an offense. We are calling out the names of the Lord, just like, for example, I am calling Sujay Prabhu to my house, for a, prasadam, and he is coming with family and with the expectation that I will entertain him. When he comes, I am reading newspaper or I am watching TV. I am not attending to him. Next time, will he come? Prabhuji?
Still I will come, Prabhu.
Okay, I'm not giving any attention to him, even though I have invited him for prasadam. I'm not at all giving, consideration of talking to him, attending to him and entertaining him. Then, what sort of person is this? He has called me and he's not giving any attention. And I know after food also, I'm just keeping whatever you want, you take it. I'm telling that, okay, food is there. Okay, or I'm calling my servant, please, see that he is served. I'm not attending. So this is, he is not bereft of prasadam food. He has enough at home. What he wants, or what the person who comes home wants, they want the personal touch. Isn't it? Like that, when we call the name of the Lord, he is coming, and I'm not giving attention to him. I'm looking somewhere here and there. I'm thinking something else. So why the Lord should stay here? Even though I'm mechanically calling his name, he is not interested, because we are not attending to him. So like that, there are 10 aparadhas. We have to be very careful. Of all the aparadhas, Vaishnava aparadha is the most dangerous one. That is, it is like the mad elephant offense. In the discharge of devotional service, an offense to the feet of a pure devotee creates havoc and stop one's advancement. See? And stop one's advancement in Krishna consciousness. Thus, one has to defend the plant of bhakti by fencing it off properly and taking care not to offend pure devotees. Then the plant of devotional service will be properly protected. Sometimes it so happens, we feel to the in the association of devotees, the way some devotees behave, we expect high of devotees. Okay. A devotee should be like this, a devotee should be like this, the devotee should behave gently, all these things, so many things, we'll have in our mind. But first of all, we have to see how much I am a devotee. Okay. Before I expect from other devotees, I should see myself. Am I a devotee? Am I in that box? Am I devotee? Am I dealing with other devotees in the same way I expect from them? Then sometimes we, even tells, it is better the materialistic person is better than a devotee. Why? Because, see, now the problem is we have left the materialistic friends and we have come to the association of devotees. But we have done so many aparadhas and papas in the earlier. It has to be, manifested in the form of reactions. And we are not in the company of materialistic people, and we are in the company of devotees. But this has to be, the reaction has to come in some sample form. So that Krishna will use the devotees to get that reaction. So why we should complain the devotees? We should not, because Krishna using devotees as an instrument to get that reaction which we have done in the past. So we have no connection with material people, materialistic people. So they will not come in picture. So we have to accept it. Yes, this is the Krishna's reciprocation of what we have done in the earlier lives. So even if the devotees are giving us trouble, it is just a sample of what we have done in the reaction of what we have done in the past. Even though devotees may cause problem, still better you take shelter of such devotees, because we will be within the devotional service. If we leave the devotees and mingle again with the materially oriented people, we will be totally away. They may be better in behavior, character, better than the devotees, maybe, but we are going out of devotional service. So which is better? No, it's struggle within the group of devotees is better, better than that temporary, what comfort that we are getting in the material world with so-called nice people. So the plant of devotional service will be properly protected. An offense to a pure devotee is one of the 10 offenses against the holy name. To blaspheme the pure devotees. Okay. So offense to a pure devotee is one of the 10 offenses against the holy name. These offenses are not, creation of Prabhupada or ISKCON or Gaudiya Vaishnavas. It is from the Padma Purana. So all the 10 offenses, they have derived from the Padma Purana. It's not that it is only for. So it is not made by Prabhupada or any other Vaishnava acharyas of Gaudiya Vaishnavas. It is taken from Padma Purana, which is written by Vyasadeva some 5,000 years back. So the first offense is to blaspheme the great devotees who have tried to spread the glories of the holy name all over the world. The greatest offender at the feet of the holy name is the rascal who is envious of such devotees. Prabhupada used right word. Okay, who is the rascal who is envious of such devotees. The holy, why? Because sometimes people think, this materially oriented people think, why this person is getting so much respect? He's not doing anything. Okay, there are so many sannyasis, maharajas, wherever they go, they are getting, getting the treatment or welcome or respect more than anybody else in this material world. They don't have anything. Okay, they don't have any possession. They are not even beautiful or handsome. They are not wealthy, but the respect they are getting from this, from the devotees is much higher than the respect what a very rich person in this material world gets. So they are envious. So they will offend. Oh, why this person is getting so much? Why not me? I'm so wealthy. I'm so rich. I'm so beautiful. I'm so strong. This and that. But I'm not getting so much respect. And this person, they may have 2-3 pairs of dress. That is their, the whole possession. They don't even hold a bank account. But still they are getting. So people are envious of such people. So the holy name of Krishna is non-different from Krishna. And Lord Krishna cannot tolerate offenses against a pure devotee who, following the order of his spiritual master, is spreading the holy name of all over the world. Okay. The second offense is to deny the Lord Vishnu, that Lord Vishnu is the absolute truth. Okay. So first offense, we know, that is that to blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their life for propagation of the holy name of the Lord. Okay. And second offense is to deny that Lord Vishnu is the absolute truth, because there are a general opinion, generally people think that all are gods. Lord Vishnu is also one among them. So to deny his position as the Supreme Personality of Godhead is an offense. Lord Vishnu has a unique position among all other gods. He is Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam. He is the friend of all living entities. He is there as Paramatma in the heart of every living entities. And what to speak of every living entities, even in the atom, each and every atom is there as Paramatma. Okay. Have we ever heard Ganapati Paramatma, Brahma Paramatma, Shiva Paramatma? No. So how can we treat everyone equal to or at par with Lord Vishnu? It is not the case. So we should understand that Lord Vishnu is the Supreme Personality of God. All others are his empowered representatives. So to consider Vishnu at par with other gods, equal to or higher than Lord Vishnu, is an offense. That is the second offense. Okay. Since there is no difference between the Lord and his name, qualities, form, and pastimes or activities, one who sees a difference is considered an offender. Okay. So another offense is also to consider the names of, to consider his names, qualities, and pastimes different from the Supreme Lord. Because we know Nama, Nami, there is no difference. Name and the Lord and his attributes, his qualities, his pastimes are all same. We should see that Archa Vigraha, some devotees asked Prabhupada, so Lord Krishna is in the Archa Vigraha? Prabhupada said no. What did Prabhupada say? Yes, you are mute.
Prabhu, he is Krishna.
Yes, Archa Vigraha is Krishna. It's not that Krishna is in the Vigraha. Archa Vigraha is Krishna. Holy name is Krishna. Okay, so there is no difference. So the Lord being supreme, no one is equal to or greater than him. Okay, that's Asama Urdhva. We have learned that in the early class. Asama Urdhva. Asama Urdhva. Is nobody equal or above Urdhva. So that is the position of Vishnu. We cannot equate anyone to the level of Vishnu. What is the meaning of Vishnu? What is the meaning of Vishnu?
One who enters into his own creation.
Yes, one who creates and one who enters into his own creation. Okay, and he destroys also. So he creates, he enters. But whereas we create something, for example, we create this laptop. Do we enter into that? We don't enter into that. We are distinct from that creation. So here Vishnu, he creates, he enters into his creation. He is creation. There is nothing but Vishnu in the creation, in a sense. But still, he is not there in the creation, he is aloof. It's very difficult it is inconceivable. He is saying, I am the creator of this world and he is all pervasive, but at the same time he is aloof. He is not also. So sometimes it is very confusing, it is contradictory, but it is inconceivable. He is there, but at the same time is aloof. Just like there is a candle in a room. Okay, the candle in the room is placed in the center of the room, but the heat and light spreads. The candle is sitting somewhere else. Similarly, Krishna is sitting Goloka Vrindavana, but his energy is pervading the entire. So there is no difference between Krishna and his energy. So he is all pervasive. That's why he said, I am there, but I am not there. I am there, but I am not there. I am seated in Goloka Vrindavana. I am doing my own things. But my Shakti, myself, is present in my energy in each and every nook and corner of the creation. So one who thinks that the name of some demigod is equal to the Lord's name is an offender. Supreme Lord and the demigod should never be considered on the same level. Just like as we always says, an ordinary person cannot be equated to the Prime Minister or President. Isn't it? An ordinary citizen cannot be equated, or a president is coming, okay, and along with an entourage, okay, and instead of garlanding the president, we are garlanding a peon who came along with him. All are same, no? All are same. What's the difference? No, because in impersonal this thing, everybody is God. I am God, he is God. So instead of garlanding the president, if you garland the peon or the secretary who has come along with that entourage, is it not the same? Can we say like that? So we can never equate other gods who are empowered by Vishnu to be equal to Vishnu. So yesterday I was listening to Amarendra Prabhu's lecture. So he was telling once, Mayavadi told Prabhupada, Prabhupada, I am God. Oh, you are God. Okay, no problem. Tamal, Tamal Krishna, please give him 56 items in the Chapan book. Let him eat. And see that you give 3 times Chapan book and he should eat because he's God. Yes. Tamal Krishna goes, he started eating. He cannot, Prabhupada, enough. I cannot eat anymore. No, you're God. No, you eat. No, Prabhupada, I cannot now sit here. I want to go to the comfort room now. I want to go to the toilet. Please allow me to go. He said, Prabhupada is nothing doing. You have to finish. You are God. God, Jagannath, how many times he's eating? He is God. He eats so many. Then say, okay. He said, okay, you go, but then you say that I'm not God. I'm not God. Then he is allowed. Then what he did? He locked the door, the toilet door from outside. Then, but then after that, he wanted to come out. Said, no, I want to come out. Please open. No. You tell me I'm not God. I'm servant of God. Then he was made to say, I'm servant of God. And like that, he was punished. Then later, he became a devotee and joined the temple, he says.
Hari Bol.
Like that. So people think, that philosophy, I am God, you are Narayana, I am Narayana. So these are all humbug. That's what he says. Okay. The third offense is to consider the bona fide spiritual master to be a common man. He appears one among us in, appearance wise, look wise. What's so special about it? People may ask. So it is an offense to consider bona fide spiritual master to be a common man. He is the via media, is the link, for us to get connected to Krishna. So we cannot take that very lightly. So he's not an ordinary common, he's a representative of Krishna. Okay. The fourth offense is to blaspheme the Vedic literature. Okay, the Vedas and such corollaries as the Puranas. The fifth offense, okay, again, Vedic literature, it is not man-made. It is Apaurushaya. It has directly come from the Supreme Lord's breathing. So we should not take it, as a mundane literature. Okay, it has no defects. It has no flaws. Yes, there is defect in our understanding, in our sense perception. There is defect. So we will not be able to understand as it is. So that is our defect. That is not the defect of the Vedas. Our senses are imperfect and we are subject to illusion. So we will not be understanding this inconceivable knowledge. So we should not take this as a mundane literature. The fifth offense is to consider the glories of the holy name to be exaggerations. One will think, how is that, just by simply chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, we'll get purified. All our anathas. See, look at us only. We have started this chanting. What all bad habits we had. We can, each one of us can introspect ourselves. What all bad, habits and what all characters we had. There is some improvement. Don't we see that? Isn't it? So it's not exaggeration. The holy name is non-different from Krishna. It can do wonders. So there's nothing exaggeration. Sixth offense is to imagine a perverted meaning of the holy name. And the seventh offense is to commit sinful activities on the strength of the chanting of holy name. So people think that I will chant and I will nullify all the offenses that I've made, and I'll keep doing that. On the strength of the holy name, I will do some sinful activity. For example, I will eat meat. Then I will chant so much rounds and it will nullify. Again, I will eat meat. I will chant to nullify that sinful day. No, it will not happen like that. That's an offense. Just like people, those who are having diabetes, they eat rasgulla, gulab jam, and laddu and everything, then take a tablet. Eat that. Okay. Again, after that, they eat, they take a tablet. It is not that. We cannot do that. So that is not the case here. So we should not do any sinful activities on the strength of the holy name of the Lord. So it is understood that by chanting the holy name, one is freed from sinful reactions. Okay. Yes, definitely by chanting, we will be relieved of the sinful desire. But the purpose of chanting is not for that. And don't keep doing that. Okay. I will do sinful activities, chant, then again repeat that sinful activity, then chant to relieve from that. No, that is wrong. That's an offense. Okay. Freed from, but this does not mean that one should perversely act sinfully on the strength of chanting. That is the great offense. The eighth offense is to equate chanting the holy name with religious rituals, austerity, renunciation, or sacrificial performance. And the eighth one is to equate the chanting the holy name of the Lord as one of the ritualistic activities. This is not a ritual. This is to develop love to Krishna. It's not a ritual, Ritual is by doing rituals, we will not develop love of Godhead. Okay, we are doing rituals for mainly for our sense gratification. Okay? So one should not think that these are ritualistic activities which are there in the Karmakanda section of the scriptures. Okay? Chanting the holy name is as good as associating with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Whereas these pious activities are only means of approaching the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they can also be performed for some material reasons. It is an offense to equate them with chanting the holy name. It is an offense to equate the ritualistic activities and the devotional service on a same level. The ninth offense is to preach the glories of the holy name of God to a faithless person. What does it mean? So how are we going to preach? Because faithless person means atheist. We should avoid such people. We should not preach the glories of the holy name. But if they are ignorant, we can still preach to them. Because why they are not chanting? Why they have not taken up devotional service? Because they are in ignorance. They are ignorant. But those hardcore atheists who doesn't accept the existence of God, you can leave them. But still, if there is a chance for them to revive their consciousness, accept, because out of ignorance they have taken the path, you can still try, but not necessary to glorify, to preach the glories of the holy name, but you can still in a nice way, in a way that can attract them, preach, not necessary to give all these things, according to time, place, and circumstances. So that is what it means. Because we also preach to many people who are ignorant. They don't believe in God. Why they don't believe in God? Because they don't have the real knowledge. They are in ignorance. They are covered by Maya. So to help them, we can do that. And if they are not taking up, leave them. Don't waste your time. The 10th and last offense is to maintain material attachments even after hearing and chanting the holy name of the Lord. Okay, so we have learned all these things. Okay, but still we are having that material attachments. So that is also one of the offense. That is one of the 10th offense. The idea is that by chanting the holy name without offense, one is elevated to the liberated platform, where one is freed from all material attachments. Thus, if one chants the holy names and still has material attachment, he is committing an offense. So this is in brief. I did not elaborate much because they're all familiar with these things. Okay, so I just briefed it. Okay, so I will stop here. I think today there is, our Bhagwati Madaji and Venkateshwara Jagadish Prabhu, right? Okay. So I will stop here. Next is there are still other factors. Okay, so please make a note of that. I will stop here. And who is next? Prabhu, you are speaking or Madaji?
First I am Prabhu, then Mataji.
Okay, so I will over to you, Prabhuji. I will please start your video.
No, Prabhu, signal is very slow, Prabhu.
Acha, acha, okay, okay.
Yeah.
No, that's
Yeah.
fine. Okay, okay.
Yeah, Prabhu. Sorry.
Over to you, Prabhuji.
Okay, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhu and Mataji. Please accept our humble obeisance, humble pranam. If any mistakes, please forgive us, Prabhu. Can you hear me, Prabhu? Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji. You are audible.
Yeah. Yes, Prabhu. Now, my slokas are for first chapter and 43 and 44, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Yeah, 43. Utsanna kula dharmana manushyanam janardana narake nitam vaso bhavatiti anusushrama. O Krishna, maintainer of the people, I have heard by disciplic succession that those whose family traditions are destroyed dwell always in hell. So here Arjuna is saying, Utsanna kula dharmana manushyanam janardana. O maintainer of the people, Krishna, I have heard that anybody who destroys their own family tradition, what happened to them? Narake nitam vaso. They always dwell or reside in the hellish planets. So from whom he heard that? Bhavatiti Anusushrama. From the disciplic succession, he heard that. In the purport also, Prabhupada explaining that it is not Arjuna's own argument. It is he heard from the disciplic succession. So we should always take real knowledge from the disciplic succession. That means Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, and Guru. So in that way, we should always take the real knowledge from the disciplic succession. And the next sloka is that Ahobata mahat papam kartum vyavasita vayam yadrajya sukalobena antum swa janam udyataha. Alas, how strange it is that we are preparing to commit greatly sinful acts. Driven by the desire to enjoy royal happiness, we are intent on killing our own kinsmen. And also here also Arjuna is saying that, O Krishna, how greatly sinful, how greatly we are getting ready to commit the sinful acts by killing our own kinsmen. That means ahobata mahat papam. How great sinfully we are committing to enjoy the royal throne. That yadrajya sukam lobena. To our greedy or loba, to enjoy the royal happiness, we are killing our own kinsmen. For what? Hantum swa swajanam yudyat. To kill our own kinsman. So here Arjuna is saying that because of his greedy, we are ready to do. We are ready to. We are preparing to commit the sinful acts. But here Pandavas are not greedy. The Kauravas are greedy. When the Kauravas with Sakuni, they sorry. With the Kauravas with Sakuni, they snatched everything from the Pandavas and disrobed the Draupadi, and also they sent 12 years forest and 1 year incognito exile, and they were set fire to their house, and they were given the and Pandavas after 10 years they were very happy to settle with 5 villages, but Duryodhana didn't agree for that one. He is not ready to give a pinch of land for them. So somehow or other here Arjuna is misunderstanding that he is greedy. Hare Krishna. Next Mataji will continue, Prabhu. Well done.
Hare Krishna, Hari Bol. Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna Prabhuji and Mataji.
Then-
Please accept my humble pranams. If any mistake I made, please forgive me. So my slokas are 45 and 46. यदि मामप्रतीकारम् अशस्त्रं शस्त्रपाणयः धार्तराष्ट्रारणे हन्यस्तन्मे क्षेमतरं भवेत्. Translation: Better for me if the sons of Dhritarashtra, weapons in hand, were to kill me unarmed and unresisting on the
Mataji, not audible.
battlefield. Purport by it is the Kshatriya fighting principles that an unarmed and
Mataji,
unwilling foe should not be attacked by the enemy in such an. Hare Krishna.
Mataji, it
Hare
is
Krishna
breaking.
Prabhuji.
It is.
Hare
It was
Krishna.
breaking. Now it's okay. It was breaking in between.
Okay, Prabhuji.
So
He did not consider how much the other.
you can speak closer to the mic.
Okay, Prabhuji. He did not consider how much the other party was bent upon fighting. All these symptoms are due to soft-heartedness resulting from his being a great devotee of the Lord. Hare Krishna. From the 31st verse onwards, Arjuna gave his reasons not to fight. Here he is saying, even if they kill him, he is not ready to fight with them. And also, even if they throw arrows on him or they throw any weapons on him, he don't want to fight with them. He will be unarmed like that. He is saying. So to that extent, Arjuna prepared not to fight. And as a kshatriya is known by two things: shastra that he carries and the how much spirit of fighting he has. Arjuna's shastra is Gandiva. He has already that shastra is slipping from his hand, and also Arjuna already given up his fighting spirit. So and he was not ready to lift his bow and arrows to fight. Arjuna is saying here, Yadi Mam Apratikaram. We also know that on the battlefield, one of the two things can happen. Either the other person kill you, or you kill the other person, or they are going to kill you. Here Arjuna is clearly stated to Krishna that he doesn't want to kill them, so he is ready to be killed by them. If the sons of Dhritarashtra come with all the weapons in their hands to kill him, he is saying Ashastram. He is not going to lift any of the weapon, and Apratikaram. He is not even going to resist. So let them come and let them kill me, like that. He is saying this is only better for me. Instead of me killing others and going to hell and incurring sins, doing all these sinful acts, better they come and kill me, like that. He is saying in the next verse. Sanjay Uvacha Evam Bhuktvārjuna Sankye Ratopasta Upavishat Vishrujya Shasharam Chapam Shoka Samvigna Manasaha. Translation: Sanjaya said, Arjuna, having thus spoken on the battlefield, cast aside his bow and arrows and sat down on the chariot, his mind overwhelmed with grief. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. While observing the situation of his enemy, Arjuna stood up on the chariot, but he was so afflicted with lamentation that he sat down again, setting aside his bow and arrows. Such a kind and soft-hearted person in the devotional service of the Lord is fit to receive self-knowledge. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports to the first chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. In this verse, Sanjaya is telling to Dhritarashtra that uh, after Arjuna has spoken all these words, in the middle of the battlefield, he again sat down on the chariot. He has just given up his bow and arrows. So his mind was absorbed in deep lamentation. He was thoroughly bewildered and confused. and he materially compassionate. So he don't want to fight with them. Uh, in these two purports, Prabhupada mentions Arjuna's good qualities. He was very soft-hearted person, and he is compassionate, and he's very kind to everyone like that. So if anyone having those qualities are fit to receive self-knowledge and uh, to become a great devotee of the Lord, uh, we need to inculcate the qualities of Arjuna. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Hari Bol, both of you, Mataji
Now,
and
can I
Prabhu.
summarize first chapter also, Prabhu? Can I summarize? Smart.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, in the first verse, Dhritarashtra asked Sanjaya that after assembling in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, what did my sons and sons of Pandu do? Then Sanjaya said that they have assembled in the battlefield and Duryodhana going to his Acharya Dronacharya. And in the next 4 verses, Duryodhana described Pandava's army. And in the next 3 verses, he described his own army. And the 10th and 11th verses, Duryodhana compared both the armies. And in 12th and 13th verses, Bhishma blows his conch shell, and so many people started to blowing their conch shells and kettle drums. They all sounded their other instruments. From 14th to 18th, Krishna, Arjuna, and other Pandavas also blow their conch shells. In the 19th verse, some Kauravas' hearts were shattered by hearing those sounds vibrated by Pandavas. And from 20 to 27th verse, Arjuna actually observes the armies on the battlefield. He wanted Krishna to take the chariot to the midst of the two armies so that he can see uh, those who are assembled there, and Krishna takes the chariot. Then Arjuna saw relatives, grandfathers, gurus, etc. on the battlefield. From 28th to 30th, Arjuna gave his reasons not to fight. First reason was compassion. Then second reason was enjoyment. He was not forcing any enjoyment even if he becomes victorious. The third reason was fear of sinful reactions. Next reason was harmful effects of destroying families. If families are destroyed, then family traditions are also destroyed. Then the women are polluted. Then unwanted progeny will generate, so that they will lead to hell. Kula dharma or jati dharma will be destroyed, like that. He gave reasons up to 30 up to 43rd verse. Then in the last 4 verses, he completely bewildered and confused, so that he decided uh, he was not able, he don't want to fight with them. He was unarmed and he don't want to resist him at all in the battlefield, so he wished to be killed in that way. uh, with the deep lamentation, he kept his bow and arrows aside and sat down on the chariot. Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol, very nice, Mataji, very nice, very good. Hari Bol.
Hari Hari Bol.
Good.
Hari Bol.
Any Prabhu, please
Hare
forgive us.
Hare
Very
Krishna.
nice, Prabhuji and Mataji. Thank you so much. First of all, hats off to both of you. Despite of all the difficulties, your technical internet issues and all your busy schedules, you came today and presented very nicely. This is the commitment, Prabhuji and Mataji, which we have to learn from you. It's